twisting, turning. That's a penalty, is it? No, he's still going. Oh, how about that? How about that? Carried on into the penalty area. Here he is. And then Giroud. What a goal. Brilliantly worked. Fantastically finished.
Here's Ramsey. And Alexis Sanchez. Great footwork. 3-0. Liverpool blown away. A 3-goal, 8-minute Arsenal blast.
For Alexis, blocked by a Newcastle defender, still not clear. Wow, what a volley! Where others failed, Ozil has succeeded. Well done, Arteta. Plenty of it here. Yes! Arsenal have their breakthrough. Mikel Arteta, they deserve it.
Oh, they're behind again. It's amazing. It's Aaron Ramsey. That's the response of Arsenal. Iwobi, nicely done. Brilliantly done. Bayern Walcott. Sensational Arsenal goal.
Is that a handball? No. Nothing the player can do. Great, what a goal! Arsenal have made it 3-0. Jack Wilshere with an absolute thunderbolt.
Hey. I was just about to say the power of the spoken word. We've managed to get Theo Walcott out of the trailer, but he sneaked in again at the end there, didn't he? I thought it was copyright law. I thought we had to change our intro. Walcott's still in it. Tez, what's the matter with you?
Every podcast I'm on, I get given shit for being a Theo lover. It doesn't matter where I go. It follows me around like stench.
Have you still got that, who was it, Welbeck shirt on? Is that you got today?
Yeah, got my Welbeck shirt on again today. Still missing that guy.
Well, that voice you can hear is all the way from the COVID capital of the world with just 2 cases, but an 8-month lockdown. That's Max. Hello, Max.
Yep. Having a great time. Having a great time here in the People's Republic of Communist Victoria.
We'll get on to this. I want to talk. Liam, how are you, mate? Well,
you're on mute. You're on mute, champion.
Unmute your mic, and then we might be able to find out.
I've got a fancy button on my thing. No, yeah, I'm good. We've just got
professional show.
I know, right? No, I'm good. We've just gone into lockdown again over here. It's all fun and games.
Well, Holland's not behind Victoria for strong communist, fascist leaders, so I'm not surprised. Don't get me started today, boys.
Fuck the two of you. Look, me and Max have had a chat before we come on, and he's fucking in a bad mood. I'm in a bad mood. You talk about you're in lockdown, Liam. I'm on 2 weeks fucking self-isolation because I missed coming back from Turkey for fucking 10 hours. 10 hours. I missed a deadline that said that it was suddenly I had COVID. I had to wait in for 2 fucking weeks. My fucking self-isolation finishes tomorrow. And what have they done? They've just put the county I live in a fucking lockdown from tomorrow.
You couldn't write it. Oh, and not just no football. But
Southgate football.
Terrible Gareth Southgate, like mind-numbing. I think I put a tweet up the other day saying I would rather compete in a repeated dick-punching competition, self-dick-punching competition, than watch Southgate football. Even when the team came up, I was like, I fell asleep when the team list came up, for fuck's sake.
Welcome to the Clock In Talk, an upbeat podcast about Arsenal.
We try.
This is a preview show where at some stage we'll probably talk about Manchester City, but somehow I doubt it. Liam, get ready because you're going to do all the tactical stuff. We're just going to moan about COVID and Gareth Southgate. What a fucking 2 weeks. Did you? I mean, you're all Englishmen. I know this show goes out all over the world, but did you watch any of the football over the last 2 weeks, Max?
Yep, I did. I think I made it through about 15 minutes of the first game, and the Belgium game was one of the worst games of football I think I've ever seen. I mean, to the fact that, like we said on the last preview, there's a couple of Arsenal guys in there, it maybe gave me the impetus to want to watch it. And that impetus was very quickly reduced down to a flaccid, unwankable penis. Like that's what England does to me. England is like shagging a good-looking bird and finding that she has a wart on her testicle, right? It just ends it for you in so many ways.
Beat that, Liam. Do you watch anything? You probably did, didn't you? You probably watched a lot.
No, I can't be arsed with international football. It bores me to tears. I can't watch and can't stomach it.
Because I didn't watch it. Look, it shows how little interest I've got. I watched about an hour of the Belgium game, then turned over to watch series 11 of The Big Bang Theory, which I've watched for the fourth. I'm going through it for the fourth time through lockdown. Okay, I even watched the final episode before I come on here to cheer myself up, and I cried. And that was still better than watching Gareth Southgate's England.
I don't know whether it's international football, because I have very, very strong visceral memories of England and of the Three Lions. Like, you know, I owe a broken left hand to Sol Campbell's goal not being given against Portugal. You know, I owe a broken metatarsal in my right foot to Beckham falling over, missing his penalty. You know, I have been emotional enough about England over the years and our many penalty losses against Portugal to break bones in anger and frustration. And now I couldn't give a fuck. I couldn't give two fucks. There's no emotional connection for me, and I don't know why it is. I don't know if as time has gone on, I've never
really understood that. I wouldn't give a fuck. I wouldn't give two fucks. Surely one fuck's just as.
Yeah.
Where's the difference?
Where does the second fuck come in? But I'm interested to know what you guys think. Is it?
I have a solution.
I mean, what's the solution?
I have a solution. I've never really understood why we all get into the Premier League, then all our players go off and play around the world for a week. Managers of the country always say they never get enough time with the players, don't get enough time to put in tactics. I've never understood football at an international level is a tournament game. Yeah, the two big tournaments, for us, European Championships and the World Cup. That's what we spend 2 years qualifying so we can go and play a tournament. Why not do the qualifying as a tournament? Why not let the season sit as it is? And then in the summer, when there isn't a tournament, you go and have your qualifiers. So you actually go and for 6 weeks, you go and play all of your qualifying games. We might just get behind England then. There's no other football on. You're not worried about your players getting injured. You're not worried about any of that. It's a tournament. So all your players will go and live in those environments where they've got to sit and, you know, be away for 6 weeks at a time, or ever 4 weeks, or if you're Scotland, can you remember? You know, I mean, and then you could just get it all over and done. Manager has 6 weeks with his players, and then that's a qualifying over with. Why not do it? Why break? We've got this international break just gone. There's another one in a couple of weeks, and then there's another one before Christmas. We're in a world that's diseased. There's a global pandemic. Have you heard? And yet, let's fly all our players to different parts of the world where they can get infected and come back. I'm absolutely convinced that the Premier League will be cancelled again in a couple of months. I can't see it. The rates are going up all over the world, except in your state, Max, which is in complete lockdown. What did you say to me earlier? 2 cases?
One in the ICU, less than 8 cases per day, 8 months of lockdown.
It's working. It's working.
Yeah, it's working. And you can kill a bee with a jackhammer. It doesn't fucking mean that you need the jackhammer to kill the bee.
Anything to add, Liam?
I don't want to get on the COVID stuff. No, I watched the Netherlands against Italy last night, or well, tried to, because my missus being Dutch and being over here, that bored me to tit. But then they have got Frank de Boer as their manager now. It just bores me. No, it's just
Gareth de Boer.
Yeah, tell me about it. You just can't get your team together for long enough. You have to play something simple. It makes the games boring as fuck. Can't be dealing with it. I'm not invested in the national team anyway, unless it's a World Cup or something that matters. I can't be arsed with it.
I mean, I think I know the reason. I think I know the reason why it's not what it was anymore. And it's because football, even the modern game of football, Toby and I were talking about this the other day. Football isn't as entertaining as it was in the early 2000s. I think that was a real sweet spot for football. Predominantly, and I'm talking all leagues, aren't as exciting anymore because it's so much about being an athlete now. And if you go back to the late 90s and the early 2000s, what you had with these guys who were naturally so gifted, I've said it before, you'll never see another fat pie-eating bastard like Letizier ever again, who's the most unathletic person in the world, but had a God-given natural gift that allowed him to just spank balls from 30 yards. That doesn't exist anymore. Now it's all about athletes and it's all about sports science. And I think that what it means now is that previously when you got the 11 best players in a nation and you put them into the team, they were inherently somehow maybe better than what a league team could produce. But that doesn't exist anymore. Now you're going getting 11 teams and putting them into a system that doesn't work anymore because they haven't had all the time and all the coaching. And the game has become so heavily coached now, rather than what I think the game was, which was... I think it's just the way football's gone.
Are we as Arsenal to blame for that? Because when you're talking about in that period, we would field a side with predominantly English and British players, so you could now, with the Arsene Wenger coming in, we were the first to knock all those Brits out and have a completely foreign team. I think
if you look, your West Ham mate was even saying, if you look back through time and you look at the English teams, there's always been a solid core of one team. And I think that's what you do. If you had a load of West Ham guys and they were all playing in a setup and that setup was winning and there was 7, you might have 5, 6, 7 guys from one team into the national team. And then Southgate tried to do that, but he did it with Spurs and it's a team full of cunts. So it was never going to do anything good, was it?
No, I suppose not. Why are we talking about England? We all hate it. We're all bored to tears with it. Let's get back onto COVID. It's more good. It's better for our health. I did mention Arsene Wenger there, and put him to blame. He's all over the press this week. You wouldn't think he needed the money so much. He did an hour on Talk Sport this morning with Alan Brazil and Ali McCoist. I mean, fuck. Surely we paid him £7 million a year or something. I mean, what's he bothered about promoting his book for?
It's on the Graham
Have you read it yet? Was he on the Graham Norton show?
I think was it the Friday just gone or the one coming up? I'm not sure which one, but he's on the Graham Norton show.
Sorry, I know Max talked about a time machine and going back in time. Have you got one where you can look at next Friday's show?
I just heard he was on a Friday coming up. I'm not sure if I've missed it or if it's the next one. I'm not sure.
Oh, blimey. Liam's a time traveller.
There we go.
I wish.
What would you do? Yeah, I have a question for you. You can go back to any moment in Arsenal's time. Where would you like to be?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know. I didn't even have that one written down.
I'll tell you what. I never got to go to Highbury. I was always because I was always too young to go by myself.
Never stepped a foot in Highbury.
So yeah, it would have to be a game at Highbury. I mean, you got greats like I don't know, the Juventus game in the Champions League run. Maybe the final day of Highbury or something like that would be good fun.
I would like to go back Emirates game, but I'd like to go back and watch that Henry return goal live because I've only ever cried twice in a football match. And that was one of them. I was standing there. I had tears in my eyes when he came back and scored that goal. Yeah.
My mum gave me a slap for being too loud.
You got to remember, I mean, look, I have had some periods where I've lived abroad, but I've been a season ticket holder since I was about 13. So I haven't missed hardly a game.
As far as emotive returns, and I think probably one of the best single pieces of commentary. He's cast in bronze, but he's still capable of producing gold. Thierry Henry. That's like. You can wank to porn or you can wank to that. Like I'm wanking to Henry casting gold. Thank you very much.
I think I'd have to join the 150 million people who were at Anfield in 1989. That would have been. Plus, I wouldn't have met my missus. That's what I meant.
Well, if I could go back in time,
thing to say.
Tessa, if I could go back in time, there's definitely a couple of unquestionable girls I'd go back and give myself a slap about. So I'd be like, no. Wrap it up or fuck off.
It's a demon drink. I wonder if they're thinking the same, Max.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I've been many a woman's bad decision. I think I made a life of it before I met my wife.
Is she going to be in today throwing cups about, or have you got?
No, actually, she just gave me coffee, so she likes me today. Don't
Okay.
cross a pregnant woman. She said evil things.
So Arsene Wenger, his book's out. Have you read it yet? Have you got a copy? Are you going to buy
Mine's on
it?
order. Don't forget, I'm in Australia, so it's got to be carried
It
by
takes longer to get there.
two pigeons, a ship.
Well, look, let me just give you a little bit of technological advice. You can get it on the internet. You can download it. You can get it as an audio book. You can.
We only just got the internet in Australia.
There are ways to get it. Liam, have you got a copy on order? Or you're not bothered, or?
No, I picked it up today. Actually, earlier today. I haven't had a chance to have a look through it yet, but yeah, I picked it up today.
I'm about 6 chapters in. I was listening to the Arsecast Extra podcast on Monday, which I quite like. And it's Andrew, I think, who hosts the show, said he said he didn't fancy the Audible book version. And I thought, what a nonsense thing to say. You know, Wenger's such a great speaker. And he was right. I got the Audible book. I've been listening to it for 6 hours today. He's a great orator. He's not a very good reader. Well, I think he's written it in French because it says at the start it's been translated, and then he's reading it, and there's words in it which he stumbles over. So, and it's just a bit painful in that respect.
Well, they should have just got like Bill Nye to read it or someone like that. I listened to an Audible book the other week, and Bill Nye read it, and it was fantastic. I was like,
yeah,
good on
everything
you,
he does is fantastic. Everything he does. But yeah, I'm 6 chapters in. He's just joined Arsenal, I think. I've listened to a lot of stuff that I didn't know about Grampus 8. And did you know he lost his first 14 games or something at Grampus 8?
Oh, really?
Something like that. But he joined the club when they were on a record run of 19 straight defeats.
Jesus.
And he took them after that start up to second. So after he got called in the office and thought he was going to be sacked. Spoiler
I've
alert,
got a good question for you, Darren, on the book. What are you hoping is revealed out of the book that you have otherwise not known? Something throughout Arsenal's times you've always thought, I've really wondered what happened specifically in that moment. What do you hope that moment
I guess the thing is, the problem with answering that question when I'm 6 chapters in is nothing is going to be revealed. He's already been very nice about Alex Ferguson. You know, I wanted an insight into that hatred and that aggression that he had with Mourinho. I wanted him to talk about that. He talks very much about his passion. He talks very much about how all he remembers in his career is his defeats. He doesn't really remember the victories. It's the defeats. And he always thinks about how I could have done something different. And he talks about the mental strength that we heard so much from him about having to bounce back from a defeat. But he's 6 chapters in. He's just joined Arsenal. He's talking about that first season in '98 where he won the league and we were 8 points behind Manchester United, and we went to Old Trafford, and we all remember that game. Was it Mark Overmars scored the goal? I can't remember now. But we won 1-0 in the end. But there was the fight, the penalty. I'm sure that was '98, wasn't it? It all mixes in for me. But he just said we won 1-0, and Alex Ferguson cares as much about it as I do. You know, and so we're not going to see that. I mean, I really wanted to say, I wanted him to say that Mourinho's a complete cunt. And I wanted that, but we're not going to get it. It's going to be.
I wanted to know what was happening in that period after the Emirates was paid off. And there was all of that, and there was kind of all of that, I guess, indecision, imbalance, and that Gazidis era. Like, that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know where it went wrong, because there was always an excuse for fourth. And we've said this before on here, you'd give your last dollar for that fourth now. You'd give your last dollar for those Arsene Wenger runs with those average teams still playing pretty football. But that's what I wanted to know. And a few people have spoken to me and they've said to me, you're going to be very disappointed about the book if you go into it expecting it to be an expose.
Well, I sort of agree. I mean, that was exactly what I was hoping for. But he's going to brush over all of this. I think he's already sort of summarised at the start of his move to Arsenal. That no, actually, sorry, it was on TalkSport this morning when I listened to the first 10 minutes of it, and I can't stand Alan Brazil, so I had to turn it off. I just couldn't listen to him. He's obviously read the first 2 chapters because all his questions were about the first 2 chapters of the book. It was nonsense. Alan Brazil is just how he gets to host a national radio station, a popular national radio station, when Max, I think you're 10 times Liam, I think you're 10 times the journalist that Alan Brazil is. But so I couldn't listen. But Arsene Wenger talked about that this morning. He says there's they said the question was where was his favourite time at Arsenal, and he talked very much about his Arsenal time was in 2 or 3 periods. There was the first 10 years where he built a side and changed the discipline and change the diets and change the style of football and all the things that we know, and ended with the Invincibles. And then he talks about the challenge of the stadium where he didn't have the money, and he actually quoted this morning, he finished 8th, he finished 2nd, 8th, that's in my head from last year. He finished 2nd 6 times, he finished 3rd 8 times, he finished 4th 8 times. He's really, really proud of that period. He says that's one of his biggest achievements at Arsenal, was not having any money to spend and still managing to finish 2nd, 3rd and 4th on a regular basis. It's horrible for me, the whole thing. I wanted to listen to Arsene Wenger. That's why I got the audible version of the book, because I wanted to listen to him talk about his life. But it's not quite as good as that.
Well, Daz, now the important thing is that you fuck off and learn to read. And then you can read it in your own voice, mate.
No, I was really lucky, Max. About 3 years ago, I was invited to 3 of Arsene Wenger's press conferences. And it was a big thrill for me. I flew home from India, went up to the London Colney, sat there with all the proper journalists, with me podcast fucking thing on my microphone. So I was doing it all properly. Had my microphone in front with the Arsenal India podcast logo in front of him on his desk. So he was on Sky Sports. It was a great little thrill for me. And I don't know. I mean, it was new to me. I didn't know how they did these press conferences, and we sat there like you do in an audience. There's maybe 25 journalists all sitting in chairs, and he's at the front behind his desk. And then what I didn't realize happens is that at the end of the TV part, which is going out where you get all your Sky Sports clips and your BBC clips from, at the end of that they stop it, tell everyone to turn their cameras and phones off, mic recorders off. And then he invites everyone the print journalists, which I pretended I was, to come up and sit with him, So he still sits behind the desk, and everyone just grabbed their chairs, and then you go up and sit the other side of the desk from him. Now, of course, the first time I didn't realise what was happening, so I was sort of, a little bit away from him. But the second time, I was the first one up there, so I am sitting, I wish I could have just tweaked his nose, I could have hidden his nose. I could have taken it off him, I was that close. And then he did as long as they wanted. They just asked questions about everything, and he answered everything. And
he's well known for being a bit of a media darling, wasn't he? For being one of the first coaches to give lots and lots and lots of access to him and his teams. And
he said he was he had a twinkle in his eye, and he'd answer every question. And he would say, he knew all the journalists. Hey, John Cross, you're just trying to leave me, aren't you? You want me to say this, but you want me to say this, but I will not say. I mean, it was amazing. And then, of course, just to show off even more, the third one I went to was the Cup final preview, which they asked me to go and do, which was just a joy because I got to meet. Like me, maybe I'm the Jonah. I got to meet Welbeck and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. They were the 2 that they wheeled. And Per Mertesacker. They were the 3 they wheeled up to do the press conference. It was a fabulous day, and I just love Arsene Wenger. And I know we don't want to go back years to Arsene Wenger, but I knew it was time for him to go. We all sort of felt that at the time. But I just love what he did for our football club. I love it. And
do you guys still view him now with the hindsight of how many years is it now? Is it 4? Is it 4 years since he left?
No, it's not
3,
that
I
long,
think.
is it?
3?
3, yeah. We had 1.5 of Emery and half and a bit. So it's 2 and a bit. It's only
It's not even that long.
2
Feels
years
longer.
and 2 months. Yeah.
Well, this 8 months have been fucking long. There's only so much. I regret to say I've watched about 4 seasons of New Girl, and I like it. I don't know why I like it, but I like it. It's mind-numbing. But my question for both of you is, with the hindsight now of a couple of years of Wenger being gone and having different managers in the club, having different boards in the club, different systems, and I know we're riding high at the moment, or for a lot of Arsenal fans, we're riding high at the moment. We've made signings. We seem to be very happy with our coach. With that hindsight, do you still look back at Wenger with the same praise and with the same love? Has that increased or has that decreased for you with time?
Liam.
I guess for me it's increased, if anything, because again I'm of that age where I was born in '97, March '97, so about 6 months after he was appointed. So Arsene Wenger was all I knew, and when I was getting into football, I was watching Arsenal, loving the style of football. So I've always had an appreciation. Like Darren was saying, there came a time when we went, okay, time's up, need to move on, and I stand by it. We had to move on, even if it was Emery and we went through a shit period. I still love the guy, always will do. He was this mastermind of football, and as a person as well as a manager. So if anything, I always look in hindsight with increased admirability.
What about you, Max? You asked the question, but
look, I actually think with time going past, some of the sheen is starting to come off, but that will never make me not love him. He's like a father figure for me. Like throughout all my formative years, Arsene Wenger was part of my life, and you can't deny that he loved the club. I think as I look back on it now, he probably loved the club, too much, like someone who stays in a marriage for longer than what they should, to the detriment of the children. That sort of thing. That's kind of how I think of it now as I look back. And really, for me, that's only really the last couple of years. That's only really and that's what I wanted out of the book. I always wanted to know if he was the fall guy for all of the guys around him, or if he genuinely was sitting there pinching the pennies, if he was the one saying.
All I can say, Max, is he talks about his time in Monaco. He was there for 10 years, longest serving manager there, Grand Passat, and he talks about negotiating. He got involved in everything. He loved that, and he's turned down PSG more than once, Real Madrid more than once. He's had offers from all the clubs. He's very confident still, And he said he turned them down because he loved Arsenal. But before he joined Arsenal, he turned down quite a lot of jobs. I think PSG offered him a job when he was at Monaco. He turned them down because he didn't feel that they would give him complete control of everything, and that's what he wanted. So I just think it's in his personality. There's a question in there from TD Shifts. Try saying that after a beer. Why he stayed after? That's what he wants to know from the book. Why did he stay after the Hull FA Cup final? I can't put words into his mouth, but from what I understand of him as a character, he thought he could put things right. He thought that he could still fix things. And I now look, all right, we're really happy with Arteta. But after that horrible thing with Unai Emery for 18 months, you'd die to have somebody like Wenger back in your club, wouldn't you? With the money we're spending now, if you took the finance, take those controls off of him, let somebody else do the negotiating.
No, or I would have put him into a different aspect. See, the thing is, where I start to fall down with him is, I think, like I said at the start of the show, about the way that I think coaching has changed. I think if you're looking at a modern coach in Mikel Arteta and the way he coaches, I was watching a video the other day, and it was a snapshot of, it wasn't actually Arsenal, it was City. It was him assistant coaching for City. But I mean, basically a screen, everyone had a zone. This is where I want you to go. He's pointing at people saying, you don't go inside, you go outside, you come to the ball. When he comes, you push. And I actually think that Wenger probably was a coach who excelled when he had players who were natural and players who were gifted. And I don't think he was ever a highly, highly tactical coach. I think he set up a framework of tactics for individuals to operate as individuals in. And that comes back to that old adage of go out and express yourself. And that was the Arsene Wenger way, was go out and express yourself. You're the player. Go out and, paint on your canvas and make art. And that's why those teams were so beautiful. But I do think as the modern game went on and managers like Pep and even Mourinho, I think Mourinho changed coaching in the country hugely because he came in and brought in structure and said, well, everyone will be 6'4" and everyone will go out there and bash people. He was the one who started, putting single players up front. I just think that that's what ended up changing for Wenger. And I would have liked, in hindsight, what I would have liked to have seen is after that Hull win, when he got his trophy that he so deserved for grinding out at the club, really unrelenting, putting all the money away and paying off the stadium. I would have loved for him to move into the Edu role, what Edu is currently doing. I would have loved for him to have stayed and been part of the club. But then he went on for too long and it almost ended up being, no, now we need you out because we need fresh voices. And as long as you're there, it will always be an Arsene Wenger team. That's the way I would have liked it.
Yeah, see, I don't have any real criticism. He went on to win another 2 cup finals after that as well, didn't he? I think
won the year after, and then a couple more years, and he got a third.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that we've got to remember that other clubs were spending billions and billions of pounds, and we weren't. It wasn't so easy, and he tried to do it on a shoestring.
We'd kill for 4th place now, wouldn't we? Wouldn't we kill for a run of 4th?
Oh yeah.
My criticism, if I had any of his tenure over those 22 years, was that when we had a really, really good squad, when we were really, really good, he didn't add to it. He was still trying to find the bargain. And bargains weren't so easy to find in those days because the game had become global and everyone knew everybody. TV was taken over. He talks about when he joined Arsenal, he got David Dean to send him video cassettes, to use his words, of the games, So, and he would sit there he'd get people to send him video of games from all over the world because that's how he watched football. So he was so intense. He could spot these players. But now it's a global game. We've all watched Thomas Partey at least 3 times between us. It's just a dig at how excited we are at Partey. he's we haven't ever watched him, but we're hoping it's going to be good because we've spent a lot of money on him. He looks very jolly though. Did you see the Thomas Partey interview this week on the official Arsenal site?
I didn't see the interview. I saw the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, there was an interview after that,
yeah, I didn't see the interview, but yeah, he seemed quite jolly and happy, very smart. I mean, you're not exactly expecting him to walk in there grumpy or with a mood on, are you? But no, he seemed very happy to be there. When he saw Aubameyang and Lacazette, everyone was like excited. Martinelli and was it Pablo Mari, I think, said hello, and that everyone's sort of excited. He's one of those players that lifts the whole sort of not that we're in a good run anyway, but lifts the spirit of the club and goes, yeah, and pushes you on. He's one of those sorts of players.
So we've watched him 3 times between us, and our best hope is going to be good for the team is because he smiles a lot. That man must be worth 75 million.
Well, look, I will say I think there's 2 things that came across really well for him that I immediately quite liked. Number one, and this isn't anything against your Aubameyang style players, but he didn't, drive in a like diamond plated Lamborghini. He seems to be a very humble, like just the way he speaks, he comes across as very humble, from simple background. And the other thing I quite liked, and call me old fashioned, but I quite liked that his English was up to standard.
Oh, incredible.
Which means for him to come in and for him to integrate and for him to communicate, he can speak and understand English. I was even impressed with, I've forgotten which journalist it was, but the journalists were asking him questions and they were all quite well-spoken journalists and he was answering it. And then one of the journalists was like, all right, mate, what do you think about football, And he even seemed to manage that quite well. And I was like, well, that's a colloquial Londoner, is asking him questions and he seems to understand it. And for me, that was important. And like I said, the humbleness of him as well, it makes me feel like he's going to come into the team and he's going to be a very easy character to come into the team and get along with.
Let's just go over a couple of comments we got in. Guna Glasgow, unfortunately, this is back to Wenger. Unfortunately, spent 10 years too long at the club. TD shifts. Sorry, look, he's easy with these two. He's from Australia and his name's Max as well. Maybe you should come on as a replacement. I just see one from Schwinn. Is that Schwinn? Vengarin, that's my man. Schwinn used to be on my podcast in India quite regularly. We used to argue quite a lot. Darren, he will start. We're back on party now. Darren, he will start over your El Neni. I'm glad that now people are starting to realise that. I told the guys after last week's show, sometimes I play devil's advocate on this show. Otherwise, it's really dull if we all just agree with each other. So you may just find that sometimes I support a chain of thought. I support an idea that I may not wholeheartedly agree with, just to make the show more interesting. However, I do love El Neni. Just so I know I keep talking today, I was really in a miserable mood and you two have really cheered me up. Thank you. A car story. You talk about players turning up in a, what did you call it? A diamond-plated Lamborghini.
Diamond-plated Lamborghini, yeah.
I was queuing up for tickets once when at Highbury. You used to be able to queue for tickets for big games and for... so the box office it was right next door to the entrance, the Marble Halls, just to the left. And then the queue used to go up the hill, up the hill, Highbury Hill, I guess. Past the clock end and round, that was the long road. So I spent a lot of time in that queue over the years when I was a kid, and I can't remember what year it would have been, but we were right by there used to be an underground training pitch underneath the clock end. When they redeveloped the clock end to have executive boxes at Highbury, there was a five-a-side football pitch underneath. So the players used to come in and park, and I happened to be just at the barrier where the stewards were stopping the queue to let the players come in because they were going training. And Kevin Campbell, do you remember Kevin Campbell? Played for us, centre forward, bit of a monster of a player. Never quite made it at Arsenal, but went on to have a very good career. He turned up in what was an Escort XR3. Was it an Escort or no? It was a Cortina or XR3. It was the top of the range. It had music blaring out. It was all that. It was the top car you could buy at the time. And behind him was David Hillier in a brown Mark II Escort, and I had a brown Mark II Escort. I was 17. And I just remember thinking that that's how far we've come in football. That weren't that long ago, and yet I had the same car. I had the same car as one of our players. Can I tell you now, 30 years later, I do not have a diamond-crusted Lamborghini yet. Right.
I think Tez might have something to say about that.
I just, look, Schwinn saying now I'm on his podcast. I've seen you've made one appearance in the last 2 years, Schwinn. I don't think we'll agree on that one. TD Shift, this is Max again. Do you think, right, we'll get on to... We'll get on to Man City a little bit later. We'll finish.
We should probably talk about Man City on this preview show at some point.
You'd almost think we didn't have a game on or something.
Well, come on, we're having fun. Yeah. All right. There was a couple of things though before we talk about Manchester City, because what are we going to say about Manchester City? Really, we're probably going to lose. They're a bit better than us. If Arteta had more time to prepare for this game, we might have done well. But we've had an international break, so he hasn't had the players. So it's come at a bad time for us. Have I covered it?
Yeah, that's pretty much the things that everyone had to say.
Yeah, we'll partly start. We'll probably play in front of El Neni. See, they are done. That's the podcast. So if we just talk about that, then the podcast is 3 minutes long, and we tried to do an hour. But I have been talking quite a lot tonight, so let me move on. What have I got on my notes? Not many. 15 fucking quid is one of my notes. 15 fucking quid. Do you know this story, Max, Liam?
Yep, seen it, mate.
Sorry?
Said, unfortunately, have heard it.
Yeah, Max, you know what we're talking about?
Yeah, the money to watch football that you've got to pay now.
The thing is, as an Arsenal, we're on telly a lot. We're on Sky, we're on BT Sport. There are channels that we watch in England. I know those of you listening that aren't in England, you get your football in lots of far reduced rates and streams. It's very easy. But we're in England. Sky Sports subscription, BT Sports subscription, and then, okay, if you have to pay for the odd game, fine. Did you see the lineup for their first weekend where we've got to pay £15 to watch it? Their Super Sunday is something like Wolves versus Newcastle and Burnley Aston Villa. So what they've done is they've basically dropped the big game. Super Sunday. We should have them for trade description acts. We should do something, because Super Sunday is now the games that they wouldn't have on, and Leicester versus Arsenal, which is, by anybody's standard, I know as Arsenal fans we want to watch it, but it's an interesting game, and yet that one's a pay-per-view at £15. Why alienate in this time where we can't go to work, we can't earn money, the world's in a mess? Why be greedy now? And I know they need to earn some money, I know they need to get some revenue in, but surely if you made it a £5, everyone would subscribe, everyone would watch it. And now what they're doing is they're driving people just to illegal streams. Fair?
Well, to give you some context, Darren, in Australia, we have a thing called Optus Sport. So Optus own the rights for all of the Premier League football, all of it, not BT Sports, Sky Sports, and having to jump around, all of it. And I think I pay $12 a month for every game, every interview, every pre-game show, post-show, highlight show, press conference, mini matches, mini matches, like all broken down. So why should that be like the who sat there in their think tank and came up with that number in this environment and said, you know what, this is going to be fair? You would think that the opposite would be happening at the moment. You would think that this would be a time for clubs to, for the Premier League, for the TV rights, things like that, for them to be generous and for them to recognize that people are in their houses, are going fucking mental. They're probably watching more football than they've ever watched before, which means that the marketing and the advertising money should be high. I know that I watch more games of football than I used to watch now because I don't have fucking anything else to do. So I sit there and watch it. It's a very strange decision. It was a very, very visceral outcry from people like all over Twitter. The amount of people from like football journalists and football players reaching out and saying bullshit. I think Trevor Sinclair came out and said, no, thank you. I'll go down the park and watch my Sunday league team rather than paying that money. He's like, that's not the game that I played, so why the disparity? Why so much? £15, a lot of fucking money. It's a lot of money.
Well, in the last, sorry, Liam, go on, carry on. Right?
I was going to say, if I could just add further context, when I was in the UK, I didn't bother with Sky. I had Now TV, which is Sky,
yeah,
but cheaper, basically.
But and Sky's direct. It's a direct streaming version, isn't it? It's
basically, yeah.
You don't need a box.
Yeah. The point I'm getting to though is that for a day pass to watch Sky Sports, it was $7.99, I think, and that's for a day. So yes, you get the original stuff, which is, maybe not quite the same point, but I used to be able to pay $7.99 and watch a whole day's worth of sport, not even just 2 games on Super Sunday, the whole day's worth of sport for $7.99, and now they're charging double that just for 1 game of football. It's an extra, but it's madness.
Yeah. Well, look, I think I'm getting on a bit, as you can see, or you can hear. Actually, if you're only listening to this on the podcast, I'm actually 27 and gorgeous. But if you, wait, listen to that laughter. I have control on the mute button here. I am the person that, I lived 5 years in India where it was 999 rupees for Hotstar, which did all of the football for a year, £10 for a year. Okay. And still everyone I knew in India did it illegally, but that's just the country. But here I took up Sky's offer about 2 months ago where they did £25 a month. And I thought, do you know what? I watch a lot of football. I like my Formula One. I like my cricket, so that's probably a good deal. So £25 a month, I'm happy with that. Yesterday, I took up BT's offer, which they sent me an offer at £15 a month for BT Sport. So I'm thinking, I go to Arsenal. I reckon I spend I was trying to work it out. I reckon I spend about £3,000 a year following Arsenal. It's £100 every home game. Let's forget, without the ticket, by the time you've travelled there, got drunk before the game, watched the game, had something to eat, got drunk after the game, had a kebab on the way home. I never got much change out of £100. So that's my day. So if you think about that for all the home games that we got, 20 odd home games and and the rest of it. So for me, I looked at it. I can't go to football at the moment, so £40 a month is good. And then they bring out this £15 for a fucking game. If they're just going to go show shit for my £40 a month, then why did I bother? And today, for £80, I purchased a dodgy box, and now I can watch it all for £80 one-off payment. So I am being. Obviously, anyone listening from Sky Sports, the Premier League, or anyone, I'm only saying this to
the
make
pod.
the conversation interesting. Yeah, I'm not really getting an illegal stream. You don't know where I live. But yeah,
I mean, Darren, you're right. There's already so many people watch it on illegal streams. I know all the guys who I watch football with all over the world that we do podcasting with, that all of them watch it on illegal streams, because it was already difficult for, I guess, anyone who doesn't have a lot of dosh over there. It was already difficult with it being on so many different platforms and so many different things. You already have to have so many different subscriptions. And you're absolutely right. It's just going to drive even more people to go and watch it on a stream. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I'm an older demographic. I'm the guy that doesn't. I didn't have Sky or BT because I go to football, and then if I want to go and watch a match, I go down the pub. That was always my way of watching football. Why do I want to sit at home and watch it? But now with the world we're in, where we can't go out, we can't go to a pub unless we sit down and have something to eat. You know, we can't have the volume on the television in the pub because that's wrong. That's gone. Arsenal, I can't go to Arsenal anymore. That's gone. So I am your prime candidate. I've signed up for Sky, I've signed up for BT, and now I've had to buy a dodgy box because they're fucking about with who they're going to show. You know, nonsense. You know, they did it all through lockdown. Pay your £25 a month, pay your £40 a month, pay these subscriptions and show all the games. Don't fuck us off by charging a ridiculous amount. And I know £15. I know I paid probably £45 to go and watch us at the Emirates, but that's my choice. That's it. You know, to sit at home and watch fucking television. You know, no atmosphere, no pub before, not seeing the players live, not being able to watch the whole game, having to listen to fucking commentary, having to listen to fucking pundits who know fuck all. Got to do that now, have I? What else have I got on my list? Okay. Spurs. Should we be scared? A little bit of context while you think of your answers. When I signed up with BT yesterday, I got put through first off to a call centre in India where I spoke to Colin. I'm sure his name wasn't Colin. But I then got put through to somebody in Blackburn with a Blackburn accent who was selling me my BT TV deal. And he said, "You a football fan then?" I said, "Yeah, I'm an Arsenal fan." He went, "Oh, I'm Tottenham." But he said it in a deep Blackburn accent, which scared me. And I couldn't get him off the phone. Honestly, I think he was either doing something clever to search into my phone to get all my data and my bank details, or he was genuinely interested. But he spent 45 minutes slagging off Arsenal, slagged off Party, slagged off everything. But he finished with this statement. He said, "Do you think Spurs can win the league this year? Because
where is
really
this coming
do."
from? It's like, did this shit start with fucking drunken Harry Redknapp on the last day of the transfer window, where he was like bright red in the face, clearly had a very, very long lunch, followed by a very, very long dinner? Like, for me, that Tottenham team is older, worse managed, and has less good players and players in less good form than it had when it's ever been good before. And I'm not someone who just automatically comes out and says Spurs are shit, Spurs shit, Spurs shit. I do, but when it comes to their football under Pochettino, I was very big on saying I thought Pochettino was the best coach in the league for a long time, and saying that if you got an opportunity to pull Poch out of Tottenham, you take it. And I copped a lot of heat for that. But there is no fucking way this Tottenham team is anywhere near the best team in the league. And I would even say that with the signings that we've just made and with the coach that we currently have, and with Everton looking like Everton are looking at the moment, I would think that Spurs are going to have their worst league finish in 4 or 5 years.
Okay, well, let me just quote some of the things that the Spurs guy said to me. With Gareth Bale, Spurs have the best front three in the Premier League.
Bollocks.
Kane, Son, Bale. Not bad.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I saw this graphic, and it was which of the top 6 has the best front 3, and you had the Firmino, Mane, Salah, and all that. And then I saw Bale, Kane, and Son, and I went, if all 3 are fit and firing, actually that's not a bad front 3 at all. I still think they've got massive problems at the back. I don't think Lloris is as good as that.
Sorry to speak over you, Liam. He said, just to bring up, he said, Højbjerg has now fixed our defence.
What?
That's what he said. I'm only quoting.
No, Højbjerg's a decent player. He's all right.
Well, would you like the way he pronounced that, Max? You can tell he's from that part of the world now, can't you?
You can. Bit of extra spit on the microphone.
Højbjerg.
Højbjerg. Yeah, I'm showing off. No, I can't even get to my point.
That was me trying to say Højbjerg, but I was sneezing, but it sounded like...
No, you don't want to hear me say Van der Beek. Everyone gets that wrong. That's quite a fun one. Anyway, he's a squad player. Like I thought, does he get into Arsenal's team? No. He's an all right squad player, but he doesn't fix anything.
They have poor squad depth at Tottenham, though. Like their squad is shite, as far as their depth goes. I would say there was a time when maybe they had some players who were better than ours as far as starting 11. But as far as depth goes, mate, I don't give a fuck about Tottenham. They're not going to do anything. And Gareth Bale's going to do a groin. Like, what's his rate? I was reading the other day, he's played 12 games out of the last however many for Real. Like, he'll come in.
Good record.
I've got to say, when I got off the phone to the BT guy, I did just say exactly that point. Okay, so your first 11's pretty good now. You lose Kane, you lose Bale. You look very ordinary suddenly, don't you? You lose Son, you lose Højbjerg. Have you got any depth?
I think they've got quite an overrated first 11, actually. Like I've just looked up the squads that played Man United that started. Hugo Lloris, I think he's an overrated keeper.
Our keeper's better.
Easily.
I'd say we got a better keeper. Yep.
Eric Dyer started at centre half.
He's a cunt. Move on.
The Tottenham player did say we have to get rid of Dyer. He's a cunt. He did. He did say that, yeah. And do you know when he said, sorry, Liam, I'll go back to you, but it was just funny because he said to me, these at the end when he had to sort of confirm that I was buying this package, he said, just to let you know that all our calls are recorded. And I said, didn't you just call Dyer a cunt? And he went, oh, yeah. Oh, go on, carry on, Liam.
Easy to forget that bit. Serge Aurier started, and he's the version of Kolasinac, the dunce of the team. Sissoko is just big, and I'm not sure what else. And Ndombele is struggling in the league. Lamela, cunt.
Yep, cunt, definitely. Cunt. You beat me to it, properly.
Yeah. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their starting 11, and the rest was sort of Højbjerg, Davinson Sanchez, Reguilon. We'll see how he gets on in the league. I don't think their starting 11's that great.
Sanchez is fucking overrated as well. Absolutely fucking overrated. We gave him... Who was it of ours who rinsed him when we played Tottenham? Absolutely rinsed him. Fucking someone. Anyway, look, front threes are front threes. Like, people say to me, Arsenal should play, Aubameyang, Pepe, and Saka as a front three. And I say to them, that's a terrible idea. Just because they're your 3 best players, or just because they're your 3 players with biggest goal threat, doesn't mean that they're going to contribute to the best, most consistent outcomes to win a league. And to win a league, it's about consistent outcomes. To win a league, it's about beating all the teams who you should beat. Not even to win a league, to get into that top 4, top 3, it's about beating all the teams that you should beat on the calendar and beating a good amount or taking good points from the teams that are those 50-50 games in the Premier League. And it doesn't matter if you've got the 3 best players up front. It won't make a blind bit of difference. All that will mean is that you'll go out and they'll probably bully mid-table teams, because if those 3 get firing, they'll score goals. But still, when they come up against the Evertons, the Arsenals, the Chelseas, the Man U's, all of that, I think that you'll see them crumble because, like you said...
Well, you say Man U's and they crumble.
Yeah. Well, Man U will dive and get 14 penalties in the first half, and that's how they'll win.
Liam,
But I'm just saying, I think
he's been in lockdown for 8 months.
Yeah, give
He's
him some
forgotten,
leeway.
he's probably forgotten that Tottenham 6-1 against Manchester United.
Yeah,
Gooner
thanks.
Glasgow, who doesn't sound much like a Gooner, has said, be scared of Tottenham, and says Jose is a good manager, wins everywhere he goes. Well, he's a cunt. I'm not talking about Gooner Glasgow. Do you know, we're nearly done now, you know, so I've got 2 more things. I was going to talk about the big picture proposal, big project. What was it called? Big picture, big project? You know, what's it called?
I don't even know.
Project Big Picture. The coup that was attempted by Liverpool and Manchester United and their package that they put forward. But I think there's a lot to talk about in that.
And even they rejected it.
Yeah, sounded an awful like the beginning of a Super League to me, like the first steps towards a breakaway league that was, you know, maybe not in line with financial fair play, and you know, so anyway, thrown out.
Possibly. Yeah. Reducing the league from 20 to 18, not the worst thing. Having the team that finished third from bottom going in the playoffs with the teams for the championship, that'd be a bit more fun, wouldn't it? You know.
I see Gary
parachute payments abolished. That surely
this comes back to the VAR argument again, guys. I don't understand why there's this constant need to fix something that has never at any point been broken. Football has never been broken. Premier League has never been broken. Right? We all watch it. We all tune in. It's the world game. It's the most amount of advertising money, the most amount of TV money. I just don't understand where the appetite to keep changing things comes from. People want to change the rules, change this, change that, change the amount of teams. Fuck
okay,
that.
Max. So if 10 clubs go bust this year in the lower leagues, that's a problem. It does need fixing. You know, there's no revenue for League One, League Two at all. This proposal at least gave a rescue package of £250 million to teams in League One and League Two. And was it something like 25% of all future TV deal rights going into the lower leagues? I mean, so you say there's not a problem. How many clubs are going to go bust? You know, we had 2 go bust 2 go bust last year, didn't we? Bury and somebody else went bust last year.
Maybe.
I think they went right to the wire, didn't it? And I think they might have survived. But, you know, with this, what's going on in our world, we could have 8, 10, 20 teams go under in the next 2 months. This was a rescue package. Now, I understand that I think it was just mentioned, was it by Schwinn? Oh, MWA. So we're going there. Schwinn it was, yeah. I don't know what that word means, cartelisation of the league, but Schwinn is a lot smarter than I am. So we'll just say he's a cunt. But they're right, it was a cartel that was forming, and it was a snatch, wasn't it? We're going to put some money in, we'll rescue everybody else. But we get special voting rights. So I think, look, it was the first step in something that could be horrible, but there's certainly some things in there that were worth thinking about.
It sounded opportunistic, if anything, like it was we can get into we can make this our Super League, and to keep you sweet, we'll pay you off a little bit, given that you need a lot of money right now. I saw Gary Neville was sort of putting through another proposal recently today. I haven't looked at it, but it feels like something's happening and something's going.
Oh, we just lost Liam there.
That's the weird thing about it.
It's a wonderful frozen scream, wasn't it?
Liam, you just froze momentarily. You look like you're about to
I was just talking, and then it's. I was just talking and going on. I don't know what happened. It's probably my internet. I was talking, and then I stopped, and then no one said anything. And I went, "Oh fuck! Here we go. What's happened?"
And then he comes back to Darren saying, "Sucking my cock." Wonderful.
About the right, yeah.
Liam, I've got to agree with you. It felt like, almost like a little bit of a fuck you wrapped in something that was meant to be more holistic. So how do we slip this? It's a bit like passing a bill through Parliament. You know, you put a bill through this big and then inserted in it somewhere as some very, very dodgy like rulings. And that's what I felt about it. I was like, lovely idea in theory, but it seems to be someone is trying to capitalize on putting this out there and getting it through. But I'll tell you what I do like, and I have always liked, Darren. and I've actually said this on podcasts before, I quite like the idea of there being playoffs between the bottom 3 Premier League clubs and the top 3 Championship clubs. And I've always thought that doesn't alter anything. It doesn't change anything. The Premier League clubs, I guess, somehow get the opportunity to win their way back into the Premiership. And you get like this wonderful little mini league. You'd almost play it like cups at the end of the season. You'd do it over 2 days. Because I think the Championship playoffs are the best, the most entertaining football in the country at any time. The Championship playoffs are just, they're football the way football's meant to be played. It's do or die. It's knockout. Better than any cup competition, better than the League Cup, better than any of that, unless we're winning it, of course, which we never do win the League Cup. But I would love to see that. Or I would even love to see like the bottom, like change the bottom 3 to a bottom 4 or bottom 5 and actually let them play off to have someone get up and get out of that. I don't see issues with changing those things.
I think you've got to have at least relegation and promotion some. So I like the idea that 2 come up and 2 go down, and then you could go the
play
next
off
2 or 3.
Play off the other 2.
I mean, that would have been last year. Brentford would have played. Who finished 1 off the bottom? Aston Villa. I know that Brentford finished 3rd, didn't they? They just missed out on the playoffs after having 3 chances to get automatic promotion in the last week. Just a couple of questions come in. Schwinn again, as usual, puts it very eloquently. Power grab at the top, guys as a rescue packet towards the bottom. I mean, yeah, that's what it was, but at least we're talking about it, and the clubs are talking about it. One from MAA who says, Darren, watch How I Met Your Mother instead of The Big Bang Theory. MAA, I watched Big Bang Theory 4 times. The whole thing, 12 series, 4 times. And yesterday I watched the first 2 episodes of How I Met Your Mother. So yeah, I'm there. Thank you anyway. Right. Welcome to the Clock End Talk preview pod, where this week we're discussing our upcoming fixture this weekend against the might of Manchester City. If you've just joined us, it's nearly time to go. So, Man City the weekend, big game. It's on Sky. It's obviously this is before they've actually.
We home or away? I haven't even looked.
Away.
We're away.
Yeah.
So what do we talk about? Manchester City had a bit of an indifferent start to the season. They have played well. They look great. Always look fantastic to watch, and then got beat 5-2 at home by Leicester City the last time they were at home, I think. Does that give us a chance?
I think that we have had a chance against City the last few times that we played them. It's about execution with City. So when they execute, they score goals. When they don't execute, and you can get through a certain period of the game, I think that they're quite open through their tactics. But that involves teams coming out and playing front foot. And I think that's the buyback when you play City. I don't think you will ever beat City playing passive football, because they'll simply create too many chances and they have too many goal threats. So this idea that we'll take the Liverpool approach, or the approaches we had at the end of last season in the Cups and things like that, and maybe be able to get on top of them, I think that for that to happen, playing that passive football, Arsenal need to be deadly and take their chances early, and City need to be a little off. What will we play? What style of football will we play? Well, history of the last couple of times we played them will say that we will go out there and play very passive, and we'll play in a deep block, and we'll play with 3 at the back and shifting into a 4 and moving the ball around. Would I want to put money on Arsenal taking points away from City? Absolutely not. Do I think we're a chance winning? Yeah, it's a game of football. We're a chance of winning. It's a beautiful thing about football.
Liam, I'm going to come to you. I don't want to go through players' selection, but you can do that. Have a think what changes, if any, you'd make. Have a little think about that. I'm going to come to you when because you're a tactician on the show, I understand.
Try.
I mean, I'm very much with Max. It's a game of football. We actually beat them in the semi-final of the FA Cup, and whereas the week before we'd beaten Liverpool, and they had about 48 shots to our 1, and we beat them 1-0. We were lucky. Against Manchester City, we weren't. We matched them man for man. We wanted it more, and we won the game of football. So that gives us some confidence. Liam, what do you see? How are we going to play? How are we going to set up? What we're going to do differently?
I think Max hit the nail on the head. We're going to set up at this 3 or 5 at the back, and the same sort of blueprint as we did in the semi-final. Whether Partey comes in, I don't think he will.
Bench, I think.
I think so. I think because El Neni and Sabas both didn't go on international duty, did they? Neither of them went, if I remember rightly. And if that is the case, then they're fresher and they know the system. So for me, I think it will be El Neni and Ceballos. And then it's going to be the same sort of blueprint. Lacazette will start up front, Aubameyang left of him. Got a hunch Pepe might actually start ahead of Willian just because he's quicker on the break. But yeah, otherwise it'll be more of the same, I think.
Max, sorry, you're going to come
I
in?
think you'll. I'll go the opposite to that. I think you'll see maybe Xhaka El Neni. I think there's an appetite for. I think there'll be an appetite to not. There'll definitely be an appetite not to lose the midfield with the way City play, which is why I think you'll probably see Xhaka El Neni and Willian on the right. And I think Arteta will take the approach of don't lose the game in the first 40 minutes. Get out there, be solid, go man for man. I think you'll probably play Ainsley Maitland-Niles on the left wing back, same way you did to shut down Mahrez last time because he knows he needs runners. I think Partey will start off the bench, and I think that Arteta will look to not lose the game in the first 50 minutes. And if he hasn't lost the game in the first 50 minutes, or if he's only one goal down in the first 50 minutes, you'll see him then bring on those attacking assets after 50 minutes and say, well, let's throw caution to the wind. And I think that's when you'll see the Pepes come on. You might see Thomas Partey come on as well. I don't see why you would give Partey, all these people who are like, oh, start him. I don't understand why you would put him in that position that early to go and get bummed by City and bummed by the top players in the league immediately when it's like Darren and I said, can we win the game of football? Yes, but is this a game of football that's on our calendar as circled and saying that that's a must take away points? I don't think so.
I think if we've got any plans to win the league, we should be going there with the attitude that we should.
But we're not going to win the league, are we? So
if Tottenham can win it, we can.
Well, they're fucked up. I don't think we're going to win it, and I don't think they're going to win it. So
I don't really get the protection of Partey. He's been playing for. Has he been playing for Atletico this season? Has he been involved?
I think it's just.
It's a structure thing. It's such a structured lineup that we have. He needs to know his job and be able to do it quite damn well, especially against the caliber of opposition we're going to come up against. For me, El Neni is the perfect structure player. I don't necessarily like the player as much as I think people thought of him this season, but he's probably the most structured player that we have.
So I'm just trying to see.
Liam, he's the least likely to fuck something up that leads to a goal. He's the least likely to create something that leads to a goal, but he's also the least likely to fuck something up.
I just don't know what I'm hearing. I listened to you both last week tell me how wrong I was about El Neni and how Partey was going to be the be-all and end-all. Max, I had the pleasure of listening to your Ask Bros, or whatever you're called these days, Ask Bros podcast, where you discussed El Neni in length and I think one of your guys gave him man of the match and you gave him minus points on your podcast. But you're saying he's rubbish. You're saying you've got to get rid of him. He's been playing football. He's £50 million. He's fit. He's got a big smile on his face. Why wouldn't you put your new toy out to play?
Horses for courses.
Well, horses for courses. What? We're going to save him for who have we got? Let's think of somebody. Aston Villa at home. We're going to save him for a meaningless.
I don't think.
So we're going to save him for a game that's easy that we're going to win anyway. That we can win with our squad.
Free-flowing team enough, Darren. We're not a team where you can just go and throw someone in and we're free-flowing enough. We don't jazz, right? We're not a jazz team. We're not like... We're like, fucking, you play there, because the team's still full of average players and average midfielders. And the way Arteta's got a tune out of us is through structure. Now, I think for structure, and Liam, I'll go to you as our tactical expert. For structure to work, it means that you have to know that you have to get to point A, point B, and point C on the pitch at different times, and this is where you pull and push into. Regardless of the caliber of the player, if you haven't spent time at training with those players learning those systems, it's very unlikely you're going to go into that team regardless of skill and do, I don't know, like an apex job. You would be going towards people who understand the system, especially the defensive structures, and bring those other guys on once you can jazz it up a bit.
Yeah, that's kind of part one about it. The second part is understanding your teammates, and that's just as important. I know from looking at the team that Ceballos is the most press-resistant player we probably have. So I can play it on his right foot, and he'll get out of a tight situation. Xhaka won't. But we would know that from watching Arsenal week in, week out, and they'd understand Ceballos even better training with him. Partey doesn't have that understanding yet, and against the caliber of opposition like Man City, you need someone that A, knows the structure, and B, knows his teammates and what they can do. And his teammates need to be able to trust him as well and know what Partey can bring to the table, so that they don't put him in awkward positions.
I'm just laughing at Darren punching himself in the head. So Liam, would you
trying to ignore it?
Would you drop Xhaka for this game, knowing that Liverpool put all of the pressure on Xhaka when we played them, essentially left El Neni alone because they knew he wasn't going to hurt them with forward passes, Darren? But would you say then this might be a game to go out there and put Ceballos there with El Neni, knowing that Ceballos is going to have more press resistance, he's going to be able to pass through the lines, but giving up, I guess, the middle in the sense of what Xhaka provides, which is a bit more of a robust totem, more positionally aware midfielder?
I'll go with Ceballos purely based on mobility, because if I think about the midfield we're coming up against, right? De Bruyne might be out, but you've got Bernardo Silva. He might be out as well with Portugal. My point is they've got very mobile midfield players. Xhaka and El Neni does not scream mobile, and they won't be able to keep up. So I'd want Ceballos there for mobility.
I can't have this loving that you suddenly got for Xhaka, El Neni, Ceballos. I mean, a couple of things. We've just got an improvement. As what's his name? Kenji Mungana just says, what are you lot on about? Partey's played under Diego Simeone, for fuck's sake. He's our best defensive player. For fuck's sake, he's an upgrade on everyone we've got. You've been telling me that for weeks. I've never watched him. You've all telling me he's better than anything.
He's been at the club for 2 fucking days.
What does he do? He's trained as a defensive midfielder. We're away at Manchester City and we're going to sit and hold. Fuck me, wouldn't you put your best defensive midfielder in there? You talk about Ceballos.
Different shapes, different relationships.
We're going to play Ceballos. Ceballos, do you remember what was his best game he had for the club last year? First one, his debut. Fucking, just put him straight in the side. And he got him 3 days before from Real Madrid.
It was against fucking Burnley.
Oh, yeah, but that's it. Let's save Partey till we play Burnley at home, where we can play fucking El Neni and Ainsley Maitland-Niles and fucking Emil Smith-Rowe and anybody else. Joe Willock can play and we'll beat Burnley at home. Why are we saving our best player against the worst teams? Why don't we play our best player against the best teams? Surely that makes more sense. £50 million, let's put him on the bench, let him come on when we're 3-0 down. Nonsense.
I stand by my point.
Yeah, me too, Liam.
Not sure if this is a devil's advocate either. I'm slightly unsure if he believes this or if it's devil's advocate, or I'm confused.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, you never know with Darren now, do you? What does he believe in?
No, it's just situational. That's all it is. If we were playing, well, it sort of half feeds into Darren's point, but if we were playing Burnley at home, I think you would actually play him just because you get him the minutes and you don't need to worry about structure. But that's so situational. I just don't.
And I'm going as well on what I can historically see with Arteta, like what I've seen him implement and how we've seen him outlay players. That's not me necessarily saying that's the midfield I want to see, because I don't like Xhaka. And I'm not a fan of El Neni, or I'm not a fan of the 3 out of 10 things that El Neni doesn't do, that he produces to a level of 0 out of 10. But I'm trying to put my more analytical brain on rather than my fan hat on. And rather just being a fan and being tribal and saying, stick him in, he's done this, he's done that. I'm trying to put my coaching hat on. Darren, provide some balance to this show, full of...
I have got a
full
question.
Of idiots.
I did have a question come in on my phone just now on one of the WhatsApp groups from somebody who's obviously listening. Oh, actually, it's some from Schwinn as well, saying, why is Max wearing a hat? Is it cold in Australia?
It's 7:30 in the morning and my hair looks like a toupee.
I'm just reading from Schwinn. Oh, where do I get one of those boxes? All right, mate. I'll sort you out.
Anyway, whether he plays or if he doesn't play, if he plays, fantastic. We get to have a look at him. Maybe he comes on and runs through them and gives us a lift. I don't think he'll be played. I don't think he'll be started. But, I'm far from an oracle. And, Liam and I may very well be wrong, and Darren may get his wish.
We can Kenjamin's on his thing. We could even put him at right back. He will be better levels than Bellerin.
We played right back against us and was pretty bloody good, to be fair.
Yeah, didn't you love these podcasts? You just said it's 7:30, and somebody said
it was 7:30 when I put the hat on, Max. Come on, we're both Maxes. Don't hang me out.
What we done? An hour and 14 minutes. What a perfect time to end. Let's just end with the most pointless part of any podcast. Give us a prediction so that I can ridicule you on next week's show.
We'll lose 3-1.
Lose 3-1. Liam?
Yep.
2-2.
2-2. Okay, I'm going to go 3-0 Wimper Arsenal with a party hat-trick. Okay.
Fuck with.
Just had to.
As I said, you can either be positive or negative in this world. If you're positive, life is a lot more fun. Don't talk to me about COVID. Don't talk to me about lockdowns. Don't talk to me about Spurs. Don't talk to me about Mourinho. But I love my Arsenal. Gentlemen, I'm going to call that a night for tonight. Thank you very much for joining me all the way from Australia at 7:30 in the morning with his hat on, Max. People can find you. You've got a great little podcast going on there, your guys. The Arse Bros. I can never say.
Mate. One day you're going to get it right. The Arse
Bros. I'll get the clock in talk right. I got that right today.
You can call it the Arse Brothers if you struggle with the bros. But yeah, on Twitter.
There used to be a company that hired suits out called Moss Bros.
Yeah. Well, I stole it from the Super Mario Brothers.
Okay.
That's where the logo is. We lifted that off the Super Mario Brothers.
So for me, it's almost Arse Bros. But is that right? Arse Bros? No.
Arse Bros, mate. Go take your fucking dementia medication,
anyway,
which is beer for you.
If you want to listen to a super podcast, then Max hosts a show every week, once with his brother, once a month with lots of other guys, where they all just slag off El Nenny and get drunk. But,
that's true. That's true. It is a drunken podcast. And as Darren said last week, if you're going to listen to it, headphones, not loudspeakers. There's some naughty words.
Yeah, like this has been clean. I just killed my job of getting the official Arsenal job tonight, I reckon. I'll keep that one quiet for now. Liam, thanks for joining us. People can find you at Groning. Groning. Fuck, change that. For fuck's sake, change that. It's a nonsense one.
It's close enough. You're getting closer every week. No, thanks for having me again, and great to be here.
Good. See you next week. You're all about. We got football next week. We got Europa League next week. I think
we might actually.
That's Thursday night. Oh fuck!
Rapid Vienna away.
Thursday night. What time?
My time in the Netherlands. It's 7:00.
All right, so at 6:00, so that'll be finished. Max won't have watched it. Me and you will.
Fucking 4:00 in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. So the week after, you can get up early to watch us play Dundalk. That's going to be a biggie. Maybe we can get Party out for that one, eh? Yeah. Put them to the sword.
I'm going to finish with one of those for you, Darren. I've got a second one for you if that one won't do.
Okay. For those of you listening on a podcast who can't see what Max is doing, he's just blown me a kiss and give me a thumbs up to say you're a fantastic pundit and I've really enjoyed your company. You can catch me at Deliguna. Not that anybody does because I never tweet anything, but it's always nice to have followers. You can catch us here every week on the preview show. Don't forget there's also the review show, which there's on Patreon this week. They did a tactics show, so you can catch that if you're a member of Patreon. And next week, I think the review will be back where they'll be reviewing Party's hat-trick in our magnificent win on our way to win the title. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And we will see you all around about this time next week.